Ksenia Makrushina. I am the head of this city research school of Skolkovo, and we have very topical issue to discuss, which concerns the well-being of each of us. We are talking about the city safety and security, and I would like to introduce the our panelists is Vladimir Goncharov, Deputy Executive Director of RTI Companies, Ilya Denisov, the head of the Chief Emergency Ministry of Russia for the city of Moscow, Alexander Kabanov. Luka Palmas is not there. Dmitry Plushevsky, Director on Strategy of the company and the club, Klaus Lusov Bernstomas, First Advisor of Düsseldorf Municipality and Council from the Lisbon City, and city safety and security is a traditional thing, and previously the cities would fence off by erecting walls around the city, but sometimes we see the remnants of it. Now there's features of social division, and the cities are now using more advanced, more unique ways to ensure state and city security. It's smart planning and smart design and social cultural technologies and the use of data. What is the city's safety generally? It is the readiness and ability of cities to respond to different risks and challenges, which are numerous these days, and including natural calamities and man-made catastrophes, and this road safety and the safety of city infrastructure, the crime, petty crime to terrorist crime, and all these kind of challenges require different responses, and to counteract them means that you should not just respond to what have happened. It's an entire cycle which includes the preparation and advance mitigation of the risks and the scope of accidents, the response activities and mitigation of consequences, and planning of further development and recovery of infrastructure to build a more resilient, more adaptive structures which are accident stable, or and it can be done only in partnership with the citizens and businesses, and I believe this will be a special focus of our discussion today. It's quite obvious that technologies which we address today play a lot of are of great importance, but as a moderator I will still underscore that social cohesion and social balance and cultural dynamics, access to cultural opportunities, it's also the other interests which ensures certain response to all these kind of threats. Our discussion will cover all these aspects, and Vladimir Goncharov will be the first to speak. And I know that your company is implementing a huge program which is called Smart and Safe City. What are your major challenges and the strategies? And can you just enlighten us what you are doing within this program? Well, not only us are involved, and many companies are stakeholders. It's a federal sponsored program, and it's implemented in Moscow. And as for the safe city concept, there we need to emphasize several aspects, and it was correct on your part to mention that social and economic and social political ways of life and mindset of citizens. Uh, when we don't have this broken window syndrome, when we have cleanliness in the streets, then it makes everybody to behave safer for other people, and we have quality urban culture, and which differs criminal prone cities with uh, prosperous cities. And when we talk about safety and security, there we have several areas of efforts, and we are focused not only the grassroots systems, which like sensors and cameras, but situation centers, which are the upper level of generalizing all the threats and provide a response to all of those of them. I can continue with this presentation, or I will just touch the major points. A safe city divides into two categories of threats, and first is in the red. It is related to criminal threats or the law enforcement segments. They are important. They provide a certain level of security, but apart from them, there are other threats which we normally relate to some incidents or accidents, and another department is dealing with it, which is also quite important. And third factor of threats is, and it's emphasized especially, it's a bureaucracy, corruption, monopoly. And it's also very important component, because if it's there, other elements will not function in appropriate manner. And by building this situation center with the Ministry of Emercom, which here and in the regions, we can state that currently, unlike previous years, we combine not only people and technologies, but in one center. We actually create an information environment, and the situation center is beyond its premises. It's just a platform, which doesn't necessarily mean that everything is housed in one room. And this is what is revolutionary here. I will not dwell on this slide, but just say that by building this new approach to situation centers, we came to understanding that there is no point of creating those situ centers for each particular threat. Therefore, by learning our international experience and interacting with other countries, we see that situation center is a tool which generalizes information and allows you to manage all kind of developments in the city, including the technical and human, and it allows us to work not with a particular issue, but work with big data. When we integrate all those flows of information, we have a big body of data, and then we can actually respond in a more purposeful way and not to a particular situation. And this kind of data should be actually gained not only for C2 center, but they should cover a lot of other things. Everybody speaks in relation to Brexit. They speak about building regional borders. Once we have these borders, and in the federal state, we quite often do it in the level of regions. So we don't build this kind of data. We segregate it, and quite often we don't have a timely response to particular situations once you don't have the data, and you cannot use the artificial intelligence to help you on this. Therefore, there are certain steps carried out. Say the law by Yarovaya is very controversial, but for us it is still in the wake of building big data bodies, and some cell phone operators are against it, but still it will be much better if we have this collection of big data. And once we consider this, what what's more important for citizens, their privacy or safety? In Europe, this is quite a topical issue. Here we are just smiling, but we have other positions on this. But it's important for us to collect as much as possible of data about people, their movements, and the situations which happen to them, because it allows us to promptly respond to certain threats which can occur. And I'm talking not only about criminal threats, but terrorist attacks, because those man-made disasters also require specific sensors, but not that video monitoring and face recognition or speech recognition. This is what we dedicate a lot of time to. Therefore, what we propose, the situation center in a megacity is all integrated in a particular structure, where regional authorities are present, and this public is represented. It collects information and shares it with different stakeholders. I believe, in our opinion, this simplest way is to shape up a national platform of services which will allow us to consolidate a huge database and all information which we can process on one unique platform. And City Morgan provides this kind of opportunities for Emercom and law enforcement and regional authorities, and it will allow us to build a service model which generally today is becomes more and more topical, in line with our Safe City project. Once we don't have still programmatic decisions on this part, we believe that we need to continue this working with operators of communication and operations centers, and in 3-5 years these goals can be resolved. Coming back to my conclusions, we have been discussing this issue for quite a long time, not only in Russia but in other countries, and in many cases we see very good response from our counterparts, and even the assessments of the investments in technology, which is around 200,000 rubles. We see that this structure can be actually streamlined to be more efficient and less costly when the provider signs a direct agreement with the users or state bodies for who need this information. Thank you, Vladimir.
A very short question to you. If you are building a platform that relies on standard approaches, are people talking on the federal level about a safe and secure city? My concern is that cities themselves do not have a clear understanding of what a safe and secure city is. There is no language to discuss this topic. What do the federal folks think? Well, this discussion is not only on the city level. It also goes on the federal level. A safe and secure city, there is a variety of opinion on what this is. Some people believe that law enforcers are the key element to fight crime. Others say no, it's easy access to social services and the technosphere, technological environment, and also there are other aspects of safety and security, and I think that we need to be comprehensive here. And my answer to this would be that if we were to build a database and a set of sensors and processing equipment, every ministry, every agency should be able to obtain that data from it or put it to that kind of use that they need, and they will make their own conclusions. So now let me, while Vladimir was talking, we were joined by Professor Luca Belnas from Genoa, and I'm happy to welcome you here to this discussion. I'm now going to ask Dmitry Kluchevsky. In the previous presentation, we already heard about the ubiquity of data collection, personal data collection, among other things, through video surveillance. And in preparation for this meeting, I learned yesterday that in the United Kingdom, there is one surveillance camera per 6 citizens, and it's an incredible number, and this is a huge market, and it now runs at 20 billion US dollars. But the line between security and our personal lives, and you as representing the company that works in this technology, what's your take on it? I'd like to explain what our company does for the benefit of the participants in this discussion. I represent Tech Lab. It's a young company that was founded in Moscow last year. A team of young researchers developed a very unique algorithm that works as a neural network, and it's intended to read people's faces, to recognize. It's a face recognition technology. We have achieved certain results. The key difference between our product and others is that when we do have a large body of data, like thousands, hundreds of thousands of video streams, regular algorithms cannot handle that flow of data. They cannot work in real time and recognize people's faces. But our approach, using neural networks, allowed us to develop an algorithm that not just works, but it works much better than any other algorithm in the world. There was a contest, megacities, held in the University of Washington last year, and our algorithm came as the winner. And isn't it amazing that researchers from Moscow developed the best product? What is the threat to regular citizens? How we are going to use this algorithm? You know, the flood of information that's generated by technological equipment, more than 150,000 cameras have already been installed in Moscow and in London even more, but basically they generate noise. Indeed, if there's something happening that needs to be investigated, then people would check out the cameras and see what the route of the culprit was and so on. But as we mentioned before, the key task of a security system is not to respond to an event, but rather to prevent the event from happening. And preventing a crime, to prevent it physically long before the crime is committed, suggests that we need to monitor in real time on sources of information, including social media, video streams, video feeds, and our algorithm and the new products that we are developing, that they will allow law enforcers and other agencies that are stakeholders in this process to develop a pattern in the behavioral patterns for the citizens of Moscow. For instance, friend of foe recognition, like we have cameras that are installed on entrance doors in apartment buildings. So those systems need to be recognized that if a stranger comes, the computer needs to identify him as a stranger. We can also watch a person move from one location to another. There are technical difficulties here because not all cameras provide a video or a video feed of sufficient quality, but our algorithm has proven itself to be able to work in rather difficult conditions of lighting. But then we are speaking about violation of privacy. Whether there's going to be any privacy violations, like people would be watching other people, it's a philosophical issue. You know, right now it's not the first year, not only in Moscow but everywhere, in airports, everybody, conversations, people's faces, everything is recorded, even car movements and so on. So the only precedent that we'll need to deal with is that the computers not just record the information, but when the computers make preventive decisions to identify weird or odd behaviors of people. So our algorithm, we have a demonstration, a find face application that worked through the Vkontakte in contact network, and our algorithm has processed it. We are talking about whether it's legal or not. It is legal. So now any person can download this app, upload its a picture, and find the person in the social media. So the people who already have this app, they use it in a variety of ways. I'd like to show you a few examples. For instance, this is a real letter from the police of the Republic of Udmurtia, where the law enforcers say that thank you very much for this app. We've been able to crack a crime, a case, and because the criminals moved to a different city, but we, using your app, we were able to find them in that different city, and now investigation is underway. So on the one hand, people will sit up because how come I'm being watched? But on the other hand, the inevitability of the punishment will help reduce the level of crime. And it's not that we are speaking about whether or not this will happen. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when this will come to Moscow, to Lisbon, to any other city. So it's not only us who are working on this algorithm. Right now it's the best one, but generally it's a global trend, and more than 100 teams from all over the world presented the similar algorithms, and we were lucky in a sense to win that contest. But progress cannot be stopped in its tracks, and if not us, then a different team will be able to come up with something similar. So as long as people upload their own pictures into social networks, then we cannot speak about privacy. People need to change their attitudes. Whatever they do online, whatever they do in their computers or phones, whatever they do outside of their homes can be recorded and then used as an element of whatever process there might be. So we are saying that whatever you have inside your home is yours. When you are outside, you are part of a larger process, and the state must ensure the security of its citizens. So, and the question here is whether we have computers powerful enough. It's not a question of privacy. People need to be more reasonable in terms of what they upload into social networks online. So we do not prohibit anything. Our laws are rather liberal. So is your video surveillance system vulnerable to cyber attacks? Well, it is in a sense, but we have an in-depth defense algorithms there, and more than once we have tried to break into it, but it's not our job. I mean, it's our job is to provide people with a tool. So appropriate agencies need that tool, and then they'll take it from there. Let me ask Mr. Alexey Mayorov, who is head of the regional security department of the city of Moscow. Alexey, would you share with us your thoughts and stories, how you prevent crime, how you prevent delinquencies and breaks of public order? What methods do you use? What tools what's your toolbox for this? Do you rely more on social and cultural technologies that are supposedly less costly than hardware and software based technologies? Zinia, thank you very much. I wanted to comment on what Vladimir and Dmitry said. With regard to what we have right now, today we have two types of threats, real imminent threats and potential threats, and we are trying to organize our work so that imminent threats be neutralized as soon as possible. And to do this, we need to have an algorithm, a procedure that we do follow in line with that algorithm. So there needs to be some kind of headquarters to address this. But potential threats are such threats that call for preventive measures in order to prevent these threats from becoming imminent threats. So potential threats, imminent threats, as far as privacy goes, and privacy in relation to technologies. So these systems do not see anything until you step across, until you cross the line. There may be a zillion pictures and no one is going to recognize you, but as soon as your behavior crosses the line, or if there is information that you have done so, then in this case, those cameras will be looking for you and develop an algorithm for the law enforcers to prevent you from committing more breaches of law. So moving from theory to practice, we are speaking about cloud technologies, we are talking about global challenges, but a specific person lives in a city who wants his yard, his street to be safe and his city be safe. So if we do not walk through the entire chain, through the entire hierarchy, from a private, from an individual all the way through to the government, I think my assistants will help me to shed some informational light on the areas on which we focus. First of all, we monitor the criminological situation in Moscow. For 3 years, we have used a certain procedure, a certain algorithm developed together with our law enforcers, and this software application allows us to identify on the map of the city certain crime-related problems that need to be addressed as such. What we can do, we can talk a lot trying to analyze the general criminal situation, but unless we know what specific issues exist in specific districts or in a mall or in the vicinity of a stadium, then we won't be able to focus our efforts and the efforts of those services that need to provide the response. It's well known that there are criminological maps of the city of Moscow that are updated on a monthly basis, and their intent is not to have nicely painted maps of Moscow or to recommend people to avoid certain districts. So I think that the first person who would say that my district is really dangerous, you shouldn't come here. So I think that this official will lose her job on the same day. And this is also, it's not because it just happens to be so, it relies on the overall general policy with regard to security. It was mentioned earlier today that Crime is related to the general situation, to the number of migrants, and it's also related to more global issues that are typical of all large cities, such as traffic, how people feel in this environment, and other issues. So in order to tackle such specific issues, we developed a specialized software product. It has been we collaborated on developing it with the emergency management agency, with the law enforcers, with other services that respond to certain events, not only related to crime, but also technogenic events. And if today we are talking about a software product, why? Because the city is so large that you cannot manually handle all the situations. So this product pops out certain points, certain locations on the map, indicating what is happening where, and we can generate a general characteristic of the crime situation in the city, but then also certain hotbeds of crime, and what agencies are responding or working to prevent the crime. And we do not put these things onto a map. It works the other way around. So it's like the map is serves as the background, but we send the information about such events to appropriate services that are supposed to provide a response or tackle the issue and the response time. All right, when we say response, what exactly do we mean? Response is not what only the law enforcement agencies provide. First of all, it's the authorities, such as the district authorities, regional authorities, that need to do something, because crimes have to do with broken windows or broken or bulb in a street of a street light, and so a lot of funds are spent on these things. And based on our analysis and conversations with local people, there are places when you need to go, let's say, through a dark park on your way from the subway station to home, and the park is dark and not well manicured, and you don't know when it's going to be fixed. But many shopping malls are located beyond the outer ring road, and residential areas are inside. And the malls are outside. So to cross the road from the mall on your way to home to your home would be difficult, because that path is not lit. And so it's not only a problem for the law enforcers, it's also a problem that needs to be addressed by local activists, by local authorities. Also, another task we place before ourselves is to monitor the situation, the traffic situation, the situation on the roads. We have traffic maps reflecting accidents, road accidents, and we, together with appropriate authorities, work to address these problems. Each road accident where people were killed or injured, we are part of the investigation, and the investigation team includes not only the police, but also people who are responsible for the condition of the roads, for the condition of the lighting, for the condition for whether or not the roads are cleaned, and so on. So as a result of such an analysis, in spite of the fact that the number of cars has been growing over 2 years not by orders of magnitude, but very considerably, but the number of road accidents has been reducing. And in terms of the number of per capita accidents, Moscow is one of the best cities in the Russian Federation, and not only in the Russian Federation, but globally.
And any approach there can allow us to build a system which manages the safety on roads, but if it is not connected with this street cleaners and the garbage removal, better more information about those dents in asphalt, and you cannot improve the situation generally. Therefore, all system which I manage, like the CCTV and the monitoring of transport of the traffic and GLONASS is actually providing us all data, and whether the speed of cars, whether the streets were cleaned or not. So we structured the system to create a conducive media for our drivers, for our citizens, and not only you feel safe, but you feel comfortable. You have good elimination, and you have neighbors next to you whom you would like to talk to and socialize. And therefore, we have built a very specific and comprehensive program with all tools involved, and we structure some particular issues which are related to a particular district and have a multifaceted solution to it. Thank you very much, Alexei, and we spoke about the importance of departmental coordination. We understand that coordination with the transportation and utility services continues, right? Yeah, I would like to say that the regional department security center is not catching these criminals. We are not doing it. We coordinate activities of state authorities, of the government of Moscow, and law enforcement, both at federal and local level, to ensure safety and security in the city. This coordination to make everybody work into one area in order to use to the maximum the tools which are available. This is what we're doing. But what do you do with the large stakeholders at those territories which can pose certain problems, like a large malls or some large developer? Do you communicate with them? Yes. As for the trading centers, we have this monitoring system installed, and not only it concerns a particular retail chain, but we have very good relations with Ashan or Metro and Japanese and Korean firms, and they are actually very happy to respond to all our proposals to improve security system, because we come there not to inspect them, but we come with a proposal that we want to make your POS most safe in the city. And in order to achieve this, we can use the municipal potential, and everybody will be helping you in doing this, and not only just inspect or score you. And this proposition was supported by everybody. And not only we provide theoretical recommendations, but we also give this additional surveillance equipment. We organize interaction with the security service. We have some suggestions on better logistics for them, and it is very responsive. And we, what's most important, we see the outcome. We reduce the crime rate, and the crime rate is normally higher at these centers where there is a crowd of people or finance is dealt. Thank you very much. Quite interesting. And Ilya Denisov, the head of the main department of MRCOM in Moscow. And how do you mitigate this accidents in Moscow? What kind of are typical this kind of issues, and how we are getting prepared, how we plan mitigation of this response to these events? Good evening, dear friends. And Moscow is any mega city is prone to different type of risks, man-made or natural calamities. And we actually identify 24 risks which we are ready to respond. And not only we ready to respond, but we forestall this kind of events. And in order to be protected from this kind of adverse events, both at federal and local level, of the city level, we established a system of Ministry of Emergency Situations, and at the Moscow level we have the subsystem for it, and it's Moscow city system of response to emergencies. And we start with the specific installations, facilities, and we end up with the situation center. And we call ourselves the commissions on emergency situation, and it is actually a situation center which is built, doesn't have a specific premises, but we collect all the information on potential event or actual adverse event, and then the decision is making to prevent it from happening in future, and it's the response to it with all available resources, or we can actually ask the additional resources from the federal level. And once again, we have those four levels: installation site, district level, city level, and regional level. In order to use its authorities, the commission was actually authorized by Mr. Biryukov that it should incorporate mainly the heads of the departments which may be involved in responding to any adverse event, and we normally take serious decisions on this kind of events, and both on the forestalling, preventing these accidents, and to mitigate their consequences. And we introduced the system of this round-the-clock duty response center, where we combine all kind of hotlines for the city. It's a nucleus. The core of it is center of the management of crisis situations of the city of Moscow, which was established by the decree of the government of Russia, and we have signed collaboration agreements with most of departments in Moscow and other authorized agencies, and it allows us to respond quickly and in a more purposeful manner, and most efficiently by just attracting the heads of the services which can provide qualified solutions, issue orders, and have the entire responsibility for action. And this center and the system we established proves its efficiency daily. We have actually dealt 3.5 million calls on various situations. We liquidated or exterminated 5,000 fires. We saved 102 people in water bodies, drowning people. So informatization is the key, and currently the Department of Information Technologies, on our request, has designed a so-called comprehensive response system. Apart from these threats we discussed, they provide the automatic monitoring of harmful emissions at chemical facilities, warning of population of such events, and we have more than 40 of automated safety and security installations across the city, which work in a combined manner, and we have introduced the strategy of safe city, and just yesterday we had a sitting of interdepartmental commission headed by Mr. Biryukov, the deputy head of the city, and we discussed our prospects for our development. Informatization is absolutely clear for everybody. Its need is taken into account, and at the same time we need to provide more automation in processing this data, and the duty officers which dispatch the resources to extinguish fire sometimes cannot just assess the entire body of information which comes in. Therefore, the software we're using, KISS-MUSE, generates data automatically and provides advice on what kind of resources should be allocated to tackle this or that particular situation. And this is very important for us because they say a fire is better to prevent than to extinguish. Therefore, at the initial stage, you can actually put out the fire by the glass of water, but once it is neglected, then big area is engulfed, and then the fire which has developed sometimes continue to proliferate due to wrong decisions taken. And in conclusion, I would like to state that the main outcome of our work on automation of these developments is evident. In April, we have launched this software piece, and it led to reduction of response time and better processing of information, and we select the best ways to reach the site in question across these traffic jams, and we have lesser paperwork, and it's quite obvious that we have gained a lot by automating this process, and we have better prevention of adverse events. And another indication which is also important for us, in 5 months we have reduction in mortality in fire by 3%, of those who died in rivers 18%, and we saved 1,500 lives within this period of time. I wanted to ask you something, but we have only 6-7 minutes left to the end of this session. I would like to ask other speakers. Mr. Balmas, I know that your research concerns city conflicts and radicalization of communities. Can you just dwell on it and what kind of social and cultural factors affect this? What kind of technologies can be used to prevent this negative course of events? Social and practices instead of law enforcement, instead of just watching everybody. Can you share your experience with us on this?
For the invitation. So I'm a sociologist. I don't come from technological fields or security fields, but I study for a long time violence, youth violence in the street. I had a 1-year cooperation with Catalan police, so I was called by Catalan police in the department of interior, of internal affairs. And I had some kind of experience doing ethnography in the border between Tunisia and Libya after the Arab Spring. So the first point that I would like to underpin, that when we speak about security, it's not just a technical thing, you know, it's a cultural thing, it's a political issue, and it's important that all stakeholders working in this field to try to reflect about the fact that behind every technical tool there is a political effect. So I will try to be more clear about it. But during the last 50 years, in Europe, and not only in Europe, there was a kind of equilibrium between the left hand of the state and the right hand of the state. So right hand of the state is police, judge, jail, all the hard stuff of security. And the left hand of the state is just social policy. So when we speak about preventing crime, it's a curious situation, like oxymoric. So if you open the water in your bathroom and you leave it the open water, and after you try to build dams, I think it's really curious that you can have some kind of positive solution on it. So in the last 50 years in Europe, I think that we passed from a situation of welfare to a situation of warfare. But also Lord Keynes in the 20s say every state can choose if investing in butter or in weapons. And of course, butter, you can have cholesterol, and weapons kills. But anyway, so I mean, the problem is that violence is like a circle. There's structural violence. Structural violence is poverty, is unemployment, is lack of opportunity. And I mean, if I have no retirement scheme, if I have not a free university, if I have not a free hospital, if the rate of unemployment for young people all over Europe is around 40 to 50, it's of course that I will have some kind of effects in terms of crime. So when I was in Barcelona, I learned a lot from my colleague from police, because they say, okay, we do our job the best we can, but we are policemen, so there is no police resolution to social problems. You know, there's social problems, and social problem you can tackle with social policies or big economic policies. I mean, in Europe we have austerity from 2007, and what happens to the young people in Europe is due to austerity. And of course, after you have crime. I mean, when I studied gangs, I studied people smuggling that after passed to ISIS and to jihad in Tunisia. When I looked at these people always live mixing different resources. So little of welfare, a little of income and wage, and a little of crime. So in a period of crisis, when welfare is getting down and the wage is so precarious, it's normal that we have some kind of crime. And so there enter your job, but your job is determined by what happens on the left hand of the state. At the same time, I think that security in a capitalistic society, as it's a market, is a business. And so if I want to that this kind of business grow, I have to produce the demand, you know, and so after there's the supply, that is a technical response, so camera, so control, la 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 la. But I have to produce fear. So when I look to our society, I have the impression to live in a really safe society. I mean, I don't know in Russia, so maybe I'm totally wrong here, but in Mediterranean, in Italy, in France, in Spain, if you look to the huge rate of crime, like homicide and so on and so on, I mean, never we live in a so safe society. Of course, we have Bataclan, we have Charlie Hebdo, but I also read some statistics that say that never Europe was so safe, also from the point of view of terroristic attack. So during the 80s, during the 70s, terror did a lot of more killings that in this period of our life. So it's also a business. There's after technical solution, intervention, and so on and so on. So I think that it's important. I have a friend of mine who is a sociologist in New York. He's the director of the Department of Sociology, and they work a lot with Swedish policemen, and they try to invent this kind of holistic police. That is not the Big Brother, because I mean, if we go to a society, we can do surveillance for everybody, but do we want this? I mean, do we want to be permanently surveyed by never mind which kind of power? I don't want to live in that kind of society. I mean, my safety it doesn't depend by the fact that I'm permanently controlled by some person. So this man
Таким образом, вы знаете, вот эта проблема, этот вызов, который стоит перед нами, надо найти ему решение. И вот это, сам этот термин «целостная полиция», да, всеохватывающая полиция, как мы можем сделать этого, достичь? Мы можем, конечно, с одной стороны стараться бороться с преступностью, с другой стороны мы не хотим, чтобы все миллионы людей были вынуждены обращаться к преступлению для того, чтобы просто выжить. То есть я вот теперь смотрю на свою страну, смотрю на Европу в целом, на другие страны, на тех людей, которые сидят в тюрьмах. В основном это люди, которые относятся к нижним классам в составе общества. И, то есть там полицейских нет. То есть я не вижу там банкстеров этих. Я вижу просто людей из низших классов. Я знаю, что тюрьма в настоящее время это не решение, это школа преступности, школа для преступников. 90% случаев во Франции, в Италии и везде 90% людей, вышедших из тюрьмы, снова обращаются к преступности, к преступлению. То есть я ведь всегда часть своего государства. Я государственный служащий или я работаю в университете. То есть нам надо стараться больше участвовать в работе, во взаимодействии с другими общественными структурами, с другими людьми, с другими социальными слоями, потому что мы все живем вместе как люди. То есть, когда...
I'll regard police as my friend.
Of course.
Hopefully that happens in Russia, okay? Well, then switching to Mr. Bern Thomas. So Luca has touched upon a very important issue of security being a technical issue and the issue of perception. How does your city create the perception of safeness and security?
Thank you. Let me connect to your last sentence. My theme I want to speak about is the aspect of urban planning, urban design. And in this issue, I noticed we have urban planning must also be place of integration of refugees, not out of the city, but and out of society, but in city. This I to connect how important or urban planning, urban design is in connection with crime prevention. I think not about the terrorist threat, but the normal crime, and there we are. One aspect is very important for the redevelopment, revitalization from the urban spaces, and crime prevention is a part of revitalization, because the upgrading of public spaces is a significant contribution to social security and social control and busy and lively places. And we have many places no people want to go there. It's underground station and so on, and that is I think an important part from the city. And we have also an example. We try it must be at the beginning from the planning. Just now in February this year, we opened our second underground in Düsseldorf, and at the beginning from the planning there was engineers, architects, there was art, and there was crime prevention. And you can see in these stations that's how important is the lightning and transparency from the distribution level to the station and so on. And I think that's a very important point. Only one sentence about I think the theme video monitoring in Germany and German cities like Düsseldorf. Our philosophy isn't to collect so much data as possible. But another philosophy, I think here also important, is to see and to act. And therefore we concentrate on areas where crime potential is obvious, and the personnel must be at the monitor, but also must be outside. So this action, see and action, for us is more important, but to collect so much data as possible, and so that's only a difference I see with the concepts we discussed here. Thank you.
Thank you, Klaus. And Carlos, turning to you, as a response to what Mr. Denisov has said, does the city of Lisbon have the strategy, a resiliency strategy? And how do you react to extraordinary events, and how do you try to prevent them?
Okay, first of all, let me congratulate the mayor of Moscow and the city of Moscow for this wonderful organization. Second, before going to the civil protection, so we have two main cores here, the security and the safety. I will talk about the safety after, but let me pick in the intervention of Luca and tell you that we have a good example that the police is not only repression. We have a project in Lisbon that we are working with our local police. They are members of the national police, but they work now in the municipality, and we have a community patrolling in the neighborhoods with problems, and we improve a lot these conditions of the people in this kind of neighborhoods. Why? Because in one side they still as police officers, but at the same time they work as a social agent in the community, and we improve a lot. We have six projects of this in the city, different ones that work with the community, namely with the Roma community, other with immigrants, people from Bangladesh, from India, from Africa, because they are all gathered in one neighborhood, other with tourists, other with pickpockets. So we have this position of the police officer, not only as an officer of the police, but also as a social agent. Of course, we do this with the community because it's important to have the community in these projects. We don't know everything about what is the problems of the people, so we have such sociologists of our local police that work with the community. We take care of their own problems. We see what are the problems from the perspective of the community, of the municipality, and then we have the profile of the officer that you must put in the fields, and they work every day with the community, and the social tensions, it's lower than it was 4 or 3 years ago, because we are working together with the people. So a good question is, don't think the police officer as a repression. They have this kind of tool in the end, but they must start as a social agent. I think that this kind of perspective from the 19th century, if you want, from the novel of Victor Hugo, Les Miserables, that the police officer is only to bother you, to focus on you. No, we have a different perspective, and we have a kind of good results about this communitary patrolling in the city of Lisbon that we are now introducing in Africa with results in few time. Talking about the question of safety, because if you mind, usually in Portugal I give this example, in Russia it's more proper. We must understand the different problems of security, like the Matryoshka dolls. We have the big and the little one, and of course we don't work with the cities, the big ones, the threats of terrorists, the cyber attacks, the nuclear things, but we must focus in the little ones and connect with the national authorities, these all kind of things and ties that they are connected. So we must focus in the little things. And one of the crucial things now, and was very important in your intervention, Ilya, before, is not only the question of the security, but also the safety. We are now facing a huge challenge in our lives, in our cities, in our communities, that is climate change. And the question of climate change give us a huge responsibility to understand what is the new threats. We are facing new threats. Fortunately for Lisbon, we are not facing the problems of floods like, for example, Paris had 3 weeks ago, or the south of Germany, where people killed, but we must be aware of that. And there are many things that we must work. In one side, the questions of the technological tools, they are crucial for us to understand, to give the right answers, but at the same time work with the populations. The question of the hot waves, usually it's not in the main pages of the journals or the news. When you go to the end of the year and you see the report of the healthy national authorities, and you see a lot of people is dying because of the hot waves, or in the winter because of the cold waves, or many times because many things connected with the climate change, we have to act. And that's why we are doing a huge effort in the civil protection of Lisbon and also in the firefighter brigade to improve the conditions, because like you said before, between fire or haven't fire, the best solution is haven't fired, but we know that we have. And the most important thing that we have in Lisbon, fortunately, we have wonderful professionals, and the most important answer is acting faster as possible. Because let's do a simple example just to end my intervention. We all remember our houses 20 or 30 years ago. We have chairs made by wood, everything made by wood, and now think in our houses today, full of plastic. So it's so quickly to burn that wasn't impossible to burn so quickly 20 or 30 years ago, because the materials that we have in our houses are different. So we are working in one side with the Academy and the National Laboratory to understand this kind of change inside of our houses. And we have a problem in Lisbon, like in most of the Italian cities, for example, that the old neighborhoods made by wood, they are a dilemma. We had a huge earthquake in 1755. At that time, our Prime Minister said, please take care of the fights, because we'll take care of the seismic problem. So we change the construction from rocks to woods, and we don't have now, well, we face problems about the seismic risk, but with wood is more flexible to resist to the seismic threats. But in the other side of the coin, we have the problem of the wood that represents a problem. At the same time, we have a problem with demography, because we are still older, and with this question of demography in Portugal, we are very Catholic, like in Italy, and the people used to have their sons in their homes with their traditional, with their candles. And many times we have a lot of interventions just to fight this kind of little candles, that they are a huge trouble, not only to the floor of the people, of that person, but also to the building and and all the neighborhood, because they are connected. So we are doing the efforts first, working in the question of technological developments, because will help us to understand where we have more problems, like you presented before. But at the same time, with the civil protection, we are working with the people, giving the new informations, how to behave facing the hot waves, the cold waves, how to understand the climate change, because no anyone in this room or in the world understand how to manage, but we must to be at least aware of these risks and these threats, and at the same time to improve the conditions of their homes, to be a safer place, not only for them in the first moment, but all the people and the community in the city.
Спасибо большое, Карлос. Коллеги, но мы уже на 20 минут дольше сессию ведем.
Colleagues, we have been sitting here for 20 minutes longer than we were supposed to, so we are not being driven out of here. So let's have one question and one answer. Please introduce yourself. Well, lighting in a city district or installation of surveillance cameras, what is more effective? Well, at a different workshop, it was suggested that if we fix the lighting in a district, then the level of crime will be reduced by 70%, or become even 1/10. By 90%. So what's your take on it? Please share your thoughts about lighting versus surveillance cameras.
Lightning, but lightning transparency, revitalization from places and roads. But we must see we cannot. There are also with good lightning. Sometimes there are. It's dark, but the lightning is function. But there we can't light not every edge road, and so there are areas, and that's for us important. That crime potential for video monitoring must be obvious, and there also video monitoring is necessary.
Тогда я на правах модератора задам свой.
Then, being the moderator, I'm going to ask you my last question. I have a long list of questions, but it's too bad that we are so short of time. So my question goes to Luca.
Mean greater social security and safety? Is there like a direct correlation? Are more wealthy countries and cities better off in terms of security and safety, or is it not necessary?
I mean, I think that's in every social phenomenon there's multiple responsibilities. For example, if we take a case as United States, and the fact that they have a lot of violence because it's really easy to buy a weapon. I mean, that's a really societal issues that the fact that is not spread the weapon, so people cannot use the weapon in order to do crime or to do violence. I think that's a really important fact. But of course, welfare state, I think, is one of the best discovery and invention that humankind did in the last century. For example, the fact that we could struggle against the poverty of elder people through retirement is really a new thing of the last 50 years. So of course, if you have a welfare state, you live in the safest society. But now we are living in society that, for a lot of reasons that we cannot discuss here, all the discussion is about cut welfare state and to privatize and to reduce social rights, and that's a big problem, I think, in terms of security, in terms of personal security of people.
Спасибо большое. Позвольте мне подвести итоги. Коллеги, спасибо огромное за интерес.
Colleagues, allow me to tally up the outcomes of our meeting. Well, safety and security, urban safety and security is a multifaceted phenomenon. It involves a lot of factors, and it comes in all sorts, in all colors and tastes, in flavors, and the infrastructural safety, and criminal security, digital security. And we, as experts and practitioners in the area of urban development, need to have a whole arsenal of various means and tools, socio-economic tools and technological tools, data processing tools, community involvement tools, and also we need to be able to address, to streamline our governance and management structures, inter-city partnerships, and intra-city partnerships. So all these things, streamlining managerial decisions that need to be coordinated with the population, with businesses. I think that the greatest my greatest takeout of our discussion is that this issue is really complicated, is really complex, and we need to be very careful. We need to tread carefully while working with all those issues. Thank you very much for a great discussion, and look forward to seeing you for the second day of the forum. Thank you.